The views and opinions expressed here on Wrestling Winedown are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of any other agency, organization, employer, or company. What's up, guys? It's Lo, and you are tuned in to Wrestling Winedown, a female-founded and hosted podcast dedicated to professional wrestling and our favorite adult beverage. We are back with another episode in our series entitled The Life of a Wrestling Fan, where we chat with amazing individuals who have awesome careers that also happen to be professional wrestling fans. Look, guys, I have to admit, whenever I get a journalism wrestling baddie here on Wrestling Winedown, I get giddy inside. I love hearing about their experiences in the field, and this episode is no different. I am joined by Adelle Platon, who is a writer and content creator with bylines including Vibe Magazine, Billboard, TIDAL, Netflix, and many more. Adelle is spilling the wine on her love of professional wrestling, including how she's been a fan for so long and what keeps her excited to continue tuning in. We're also chatting about Adelle's amazing journalism career, including how she started as a psychology major in college and transferred into journalism, as well as some of the journalists that she looked up to before, during, and currently in her career, some of her internships and jobs that she's had along the years, and of course her amazing bylines, like I said, which include Vibe, TIDAL, Netflix. She is sharing some of her favorite moments from some of these places, as well as we're talking about AI in the journalism world and what we think about it as two journalism majors. Now, the question on your mind might be, well, has Adelle been able to tag team both her career as well as her wrestling fandom? And babes, I'm telling you, she has. She's interviewed John Cena, which is absolutely amazing. She is telling us all about that and what she was able to discuss with him, as well as some of her other favorite wrestling moments that she's had in her journalism career. And of course, it would not be an episode of Wrestling Winedown without our manifestation moment. And honestly, Adelle's manifestation is one that I would absolutely love to come true. So grab your favorite glass of bubbly. We're going in for the 3 count. Welcome back to Wrestling Winedown. We are back with another episode in our series, The Life of a Wrestling Fan, where we talk with individuals with amazing careers who also happen to be professional wrestling fans. I am so excited to have this wonderful lady on the show today. She is a writer and content creator with bylines including Vibe Magazine, Billboard, TIDAL, Netflix, and many more. Adelle, welcome to Wrestling Winedown. How are you?
Thank you so much, Lo. I'm so excited to be here.
Let's dive right in. When did you first get into professional wrestling?
Oh, man, I was in junior high school. I'm originally from New York. So a lot of the boys in my class were always talking about wrestling. They were walking around trying to be like The Rock and DX. And I was like, what are these boys up to? And funnily enough, the classmate that I would get babysat by his grandma. He would turn on Thursday Night SmackDown when it was on UPN.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw Lita debut with S.A. Rios. And I was like, oh, I can get hip to this. And I started watching it. So I am so bad with years, but that was probably like late 90s, early 2000s.
Have you taken a break from your fandom in between, or have you gone straight through?
So I did take a break around my 20s just because, well, I'm 36 now. So during my 20s, I did take a break like right after the Invasion storyline. So right when WCW and ECW were coming into the fold. To be candid, I just didn't appreciate where the women's storylines were going at that point. And I felt like it was just a lot about like body image and putting them in these really weird gimmicks. And I was like, that's not necessarily the representation that I want to see for these girlies. So I did take a break for a little bit, but I had always like stayed tuned in to like who were the hottest superstars. During my time at Billboard, I even got to interview John Cena. So I was still very much like keeping tabs on things.
What keeps you now excited to stay up to date with professional wrestling?
It's the women, hands down. I mean, I feel like they're just being given so much more meat and so much more, time on air. They're being handed the mic. They're able to like really create these amazing stories in and out of the ring. They're able to flaunt their personalities on social media. I was like, I wish that the divas back then had the same opportunities, because imagine how fed we would have been as little girls watching it, like even though they may be feuding, they might do a cute little TikTok together. And that just makes my heart so happy. But it's definitely the women and just seeing how they've evolved even post evolution. Like, I just love being able to see them, live these amazing narratives, both on and off camera.
When did you come back into wrestling after you took that break in your 20s?
So I had just moved to LA maybe like 3 years prior, and I heard that WrestleMania was coming to Los Angeles. Like, it was WrestleMania Hollywood. And I guess the algorithms knew what to do, because I saw a WrestleCon ad for Team Bestie, and they were doing a sighting, and it was Lita and Trish Stratus. And I was like, hold the phone. What? And I was geeking. I was like, oh my God, I haven't seen these women in so long. And now they're a whole tag team, and they're going to be in Hollywood. Like, it just felt like the stars were aligned. Mm-hmm. And so I legit bought a ticket to WrestleCon by myself, bought tickets to WrestleMania, because I was like, I don't know if they're going to be able to perform in a WrestleMania again anytime soon. Like, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Mm-hmm. So I was able to go to WrestleCon, meet Lita and meet Trish. And it was probably one of the happiest days of my life, to be honest. And it was like the perfect entryway back into wrestling, because I also got to see Charlotte perform. I got to see Bianca. I got to see Rhea, who I love now, and obviously see the two legends as a tag team, and just really immerse myself with all these different characters that now exist in the WWE universe. So that was around like 2023.
You've been to a lot of wrestling shows over the years, though. What have been some of your favorites to attend?
Well, my first ever show was when I was in 8th grade, and my mom surprised me with SmackDown tickets, and I was immediately hooked. And, ticket prices have become a little bit more expensive since then. I was like, we gotta make sure we have budget. So WrestleMania, hands down, was my favorite. I only went to night one in Hollywood, but then when they had announced Vegas last year, I was like, oh, there's no way I'm missing both nights. Like, I'm going, even if this financially ruins me. So I'm gonna just go anyways. And then I have been to a couple of Raws. I went to Money in the Bank, which was great. But yeah, there's nothing like a WrestleMania. There's just like the atmosphere in the air and just the excitement. Like, you have veteran fans and, new witnesses watching all under, the same venue. It's just a magnetic feeling, like an electricity that I just can't describe.
Did you notice a difference between WrestleMania Hollywood versus WrestleMania Vegas in terms of your fandom, right? When you re-entered going to WrestleMania Hollywood, I'm sure you knew a little bit, but I feel like going in Vegas, you probably knew way more. Was the experience better in Vegas, or was it better re-entering the field in Hollywood?
So in Hollywood, I had the advantage of like knowing that Lita and Trish were going to be there. So that was like the highlight of my entire night and life. But I do think I had way more fun in Vegas because I was tapped in. I was tuned into all of the storylines. I knew who everybody was. Whereas versus in Hollywood, it was like, okay, I see what these people are doing. I love the Usos. I love Street Profits. So it was like getting that feeling back again of when I first saw that initial SmackDown show on UPN as a little kid, and just being like, oh, I remember why I used to love this. Just like seeing the athleticism and the charisma and like just the sheer production value of everything. I was like, man, people have money now. Like, WWE has money now.
And they think we have money.
I know. Well, that part. For sure. But I remember like even just trying to beg my mom the week before. It wasn't a PLE, it would be a pay-per-view back then. I would like beg my mom, please, 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 can you just get me Royal Rumble on HBO or whatever? And now it's just like so accessible, but also very expensive. But not to stray from your question, I do think that Vegas was more of the highlight, just because it was like a 2-nighter. I got to really see a full WrestleMania show. So I would pick that.
Have you dived into any other companies since you've been a fan again, or has it been just strictly WWE?
It's been strictly WWE and NXT for now. I have been very curious about other promotions. So like, being in LA, there are so many different types of independent wrestling shows. So I've been to Lucha Vavavoom, which I love. It's like super hilarious if you've never been. It's just like people being very goofy, but also wrestling at the same time. I have seen Sukeban, which is really amazing, the Japanese women's wrestling company. I'm about to see House of Glory at the end of this month. So I'm very excited about that. But it's like you see familiar faces, like people who are no longer at WWE are making the rounds at other places. So also on my 2026 to-do list is to really sit down and watch AEW. Like I've been hearing such incredible things and I just feel like I need to sit down, create a schedule and really invest in AEW. But that's where I'm at right now.
Let's talk about your journalism career. When did you realize you wanted to pursue journalism?
Well, when I was little, I wanted to become a singer. And thank goodness I did not pursue that because there's already an Adele. So, a Grammy Award winner at that. And I love everything that she does. So I'm like, you know what? She's representing both of us with her career. But I think I've always just been a creative person. So I had a phase when, when they asked me, what do you want to be when you grow up? I like had different phases. I wanted to be a veterinarian. I wanted to be a fashion designer. I wanted to be a singer. I wanted to be a book author. Like I just wanted to be so many different things. But when it came time to declare my major in college, I'm like, well, what am I going to actually do with my life? I thought I was going to be a psychologist, honestly. So I went to college, declared psychology as my major as a freshman, and then realized I don't know if I can help people if I also need help. So I was
That's
like,
fair.
I've always loved writing. So I've always loved the written word. I've loved just like creating stories. And I was like, well, journalism seems like the next best thing. And so I took an HR internship at a smaller news station in New York called New York One News. It just so happened that the recruiter that I was shadowing for the day lost her intern. Like her intern just ghosted her completely and did not show up on the first day of the job. And I was like, I'm here. I could do it. And she was like, are you sure? And I was like, absolutely. I was completely scared. I had no idea what I was doing. I was already offering to be her intern before, before I even knew what that meant.
Yeah.
But I was like, I figured being an HR intern, I get to interact with every single department. And then I get to figure out, okay, what part of the news business, what media business do I want to be in? And it really became evident that I wanted to be like an on-air reporter and that I wanted to be a writer. And so, yeah, like it was during college where I just decided, you know what, I'm going to dive in, guns blazing, and just figure out what I'm going to do with my life as I go.
How was that college experience for you transitioning from a psychology degree to a journalism degree? Because we all know some of those credits don't transfer. You got to start.
That's right.
You got to
You got
start over.
Start over. That's right. It wasn't too bad of a transition. I just realized I love the way the human mind works. And I think that informs the way that I write. Like I'm a very naturally curious person and I always want to dive deep and like dig into the nitty gritty when it comes to, conversations with other folks. So when I made that transition, my family was like, are you sure journalists don't make that much money? And I was like, I'll figure that part out. I'll figure that part out. But I realized there was like, I was just so passionate about all of the classes that I was taking. I was like, doing news reports in the media lab. I was editing videos, like very much setting the stage for what I would eventually do. So that's why it didn't feel like work to me. Like I would just spend all hours of the day and night just doing these things, interviewing people for the school newspaper. And I loved it. Like the thing is, I'm such a shy introvert and I know you probably can't tell, but like when I knew I had an assignment, I turned it on. Like I was ready to go to work. And so it helped me work through that nervousness. Like I used to be that type of girl who was very nervous about presenting her math homework and who would be shaking all over before it was her turn to get up at the chalkboard and like explain her work. Now I'm just like, of course I'll get nervous, but I feel a little bit more confident in being able to just be as I am.
Did you initially know you wanted to pursue print journalism? Did you venture into any other mediums while you were doing the internship and even in college that intrigued you?
So I bounced around all over the place just to kind of see where I could lend my talents, right? And so I did a bunch of internships at NBC and ABC News because I really was gravitating towards hard news. But the stories can be so heartbreaking sometimes. And I felt like it was taking a toll on my mental health. And I was just like, you know what, as soon as I get that feeling that I don't want to be here anymore, just let my mentors know, like, I appreciate all the opportunities, but I think I might go a different route. And at this time, we didn't have LinkedIn. We did not have all of the different websites and platforms that we have now to kind of help you secure a job or an internship. So I literally had to flip through. And so I'm a big music nerd. So I love hip hop and R&B. And so I was flipping through Vibe magazine and there was like a little itty bitty call for interns like on a corner of a page. And I was just like, oh, I could do that. I could absolutely do that. It's funny because I had done 2 interviews. I had done one for BET and then one for Vibe. And I was like, whoever's going to pick me, it's where I'm going to go. And it ended up being Vibe. And once I got there, it was like everything I could have possibly dreamed of. I was in heaven. Like I was literally listening to artists on my iPod and then being able to talk to them over the phone or in person. And I just wanted to do that all the time. So it ended up being print journalism. And I worked my way up from intern to editorial assistant to editor. And I was able to sort of create my own space at the magazine because one, print journalism was on its way out. So that was also another heartbreaking moment because I love physical media. Like I was always into like seeing my byline on paper and just being able to hold things in my hands. And so when I started to notice that video content was starting to become a huge thing, I was like, well, let's start making shows on vibe.com and, you know, just get it popping that way. And so I was able to create so many different shows and sort of do my own thing, which I loved. I felt like such a creative liberation, basically, to do whatever I wanted and really infuse my voice and spotlight the artists that I was into, that I felt like were worthy of the praise. And so that naturally turned into just like hosting my own shows, basically. Like I would go onto Billboard and I would sort of do the same thing, but instead of print, it would be online and video interviews. And so that's kind of how that went.
Did you look up to any other journalists before, during, or even currently in your career?
There were a lot. Robin Roberts was a big one for me. I always was like, I want to be her when I grew up. And like when I was interning at ABC News, I remember her seeing me after she was coming off the elevator and I was like divvying up the mail. And she's like, do you need help with that? And I was like, Robin Roberts is asking me if I need help with the mail? What is happening right now? But that just speaks to her character, right? And I think that's probably one of the most important lessons that I ever learned is that people are people. And you may be able to see like everything that they do because we're all naturally showing our highlight reels on social media. But it's like those moments that you don't see off camera, like in those very like private, intimate human interactions that really define a person for me. So I always carried that same spirit. Like, it doesn't matter what my title is. If you need help with something, let me know. Robin Roberts was a big one. Barbara Walters was a big one. Man, who else? Like, it was a lot of folks who were in hard news at that point. But then when I got into hip hop, it was Miss Info. Miss Info was like a big, big inspiration. I was like, there are no Asian women doing this except for Miss Info. Suchin Pak was another one. If you want to talk about MTV, rest in peace, never forget. Yeah, it was just all about strong, independent women who were getting like the best stories out of people. And so those are the ones that I would name check for sure.
You've mentioned a couple of your bylines, but you have an outstanding amount of bylines, which include Vibe, Billboard, TIDAL, Netflix, and so many others. What have been some of your favorite pieces to create in your career?
Wow. Well, where do I start? I think one of the biggest points of pride in my career was being able to land a Vibe cover story with Jhené Aiko, because one, it was my first ever magazine cover. Second, I was and still am a very huge Jhené Aiko fan. Like, I had been following her career since college. So it was like, I'm going to keep on covering her at Vibe until it's time for her to land a cover, because I know it's going to happen. So that one holds a special place in my heart. I've also done a cover story for Vibe Vixen, also rest in peace, never forget, with Cassie. So that was a big one too. And she's also part Filipino, which I am Filipino. So it was like, it also had a special place in my history as well. But even beyond bylines, I think one of my favorite memories was when I was at TIDAL and I got the opportunity to host a show called Side Hustle. And through that series, I was able to interview the likes of like Nipsey Hussle, rest in peace, Rick Ross, E40, and just talk about what they did beyond their music careers and how they like generated all these different streams of revenue. And I feel like I was giving keys to people who were watching my videos, because it's like, we all want to set ourselves up for success. We all want to be able to create a legacy for ourselves, but sometimes the main job isn't going to pay all the bills.
Right.
So I feel like I was really helping push like this aspirational, inspirational content. And I got to travel like all over to different cities across the US and talk to these folks and really just spend time with them and see how their mind worked and get like all of these business gems from them. So that definitely was a big one for me. And then for Netflix, It was a very interesting situation because it wasn't necessarily that you would see my byline on the screen. Like I was part of the team that created the synopses for all of the shows and
Mm-hmm.
films that you see. So you don't really see the author
Mm-hmm.
on the screen when you're on the app. But there was something really incredible about being a part of that team because one, we were all like, we came from all different types of backgrounds. We had, you know, journalists, we had authors, and we were all just trying to put these words on the screen to help that person find the next piece of life-changing content when they were on Netflix. And so being able to see that, and like, you know, Netflix is a huge machine, so they would globalize it and flip our English words into a billion other languages. And it was like, that's incredible. Like my words are being seen around the world, and I don't even speak most of those languages. So it was mind-blowing in that regard, but I'm very proud of the work that we did there as well.
You mentioned you interviewed John Cena. Tell us
Oh,
more about
yes.
that.
Oh, wait. Oh, yes. You know, that guy. I forgot about him. Not like he had a whole retirement farewell tour the past 365. I think I blocked it out of my mind at this point. So it's so funny you mentioned that. I realized that that was in 2016. So it's
Mm,
literally been a decade since. And
wow.
he was just entering like a new chapter in his career. Like he was
Mm-hmm.
about to host the ESPYs. And so that's why I was able to bridge the gap. Also, actually another proud moment now that you've jogged my memory was when I was at Billboard. I actually co-hosted a sports meets music podcast with a dear friend of mine, Natalie Weiner. And this was before like sports influencers and just like, this was a very early days situation where like we would take a John Cena who has this sports career, but also raps. We were trying
Mm-hmm.
to find those types of people. So like we would have Fat Joe talk about basketball, but then we'd also have Brianna Stewart from the WNBA talk about like her favorite playlist. So I loved that podcast so much. And it's because it also let me interview John Cena. So John Cena was such a baby at that time. I mean, I was such a baby, but we were both babies at that time. But he was not, you know, the Hollywood powerhouse that he is today. I mean, we saw it from those very beginning stages, but like even listening to all of the interviews that he's been doing this past year about like the evolution of his career, it's like you can't help but be proud of him. He's just been an A1 guy, but he also followed his dreams, like in
Mm-hmm.
every sense of the word. So he hadn't been in any blockbusters yet. He had not done, you know, all of the movies and TV shows that we know him for now, but he was just embarking on that journey. And I think that that was such a natural position for him to be in. Like, let me host the ESPYs. This is where a culmination of all these different types of folks from music and sports and entertainment come together. So I haven't had a chance to listen to the interview in full. Like I have a thing about listening to my voice with
Yeah, I think a lot of
interviews.
people do. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's something I probably should have done it last year during his farewell tour. But I just remember him being exactly as you see him today. Like he's grown now as a person, but he hasn't, the essence of him hasn't changed, I don't think.
Controversial topic. We have
Okay.
seen Sports Illustrated and others start to include AI for things like making images on websites and even writing their articles. As a journalist, how do you feel about this?
Man, AI is such a polarizing topic, depend on who you ask. But when it comes to me personally, I think the biggest thing, right? And if you go back down through the history and through the history books, you see that when computers first came onto the scene, everybody thought that these devices were going to replace us. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it just kind of happens in cycles. So with AI, I think the biggest thing for me is like, I want people to win. I want people to have the resources that they need in order to do the best work that they can. For me, it's more about the integrity piece of it, right? Like giving credit where it's due and making sure that we are just making making wise decisions when we use it. Because as
Right.
soon as you put all of your data into it, like it becomes everybody's data. And I don't think
Mm-hmm.
people really understand that. Then it's the impact on the environment. And then it's like everybody sounding the same. And I think that's what hurts me the most as a writer and a creative is like now everybody's resume, everybody's cover letters, we're all pulling from the same data and we're starting to sound like ourselves and we're losing our own voices. ChatGPT and all these other AI platforms are such easily accessible tools. But I also fear that we're losing some of the secret sauce that makes us human. And so if we can get to a place where we sort of filter things and just make sure that, you know, we're using it with integrity, I think AI could be a great tool, but also we got to think about the planet as well.
Hearing somebody or seeing somebody's work, you know they wrote it. They might be sharing anecdotal stories, stuff like that. You can't get that from AI. You can't
Right.
experience something from artificial intelligence like you can from a real human writing a story. So, yeah, I definitely agree with you. I mean, you can definitely tell nowadays when people are using the AI. You
That's
know, you got
right.
the
Yeah.
dashes and
Yeah, that's so. Here's the thing. I love M dashes, and I have been using them way before AI became a
I've
thing.
seen
So
so
now
many
it's
people
like,
say that. Yeah.
and so now people are like, "Are you sure you wrote this?" I'm like, "You know, it's me because I'm punny and alliterative, so it's definitely going to be me." But you hit on a very great point. It's like don't lose the humanness of it. Like you
Mm-hmm.
cannot replicate connection. You cannot replicate like just authenticity, you know, by plugging a prompt into some type of platform. Like I think people just need to take what generates for them on these tools and like find a way to make it their own. Like it's okay to
Mm-hmm.
have it be like your starting point. Don't let it be your end.
Let's talk about looping in wrestling and your career. So I found you through your TikTok where you talk about your wrestling journey and your career. When did you start creating content and when did you decide to focus on both your career as well as wrestling for your platforms?
Candidly, last year. So I had been making TikTok content that wasn't really about wrestling, more so just like about my various fandoms, whether it was Stranger Things or Filipino food, and you know, insert any topic here. Disney, my Disneyland trips are a big one as well. I started doing that like maybe 3 years ago, but I was never
Mm-hmm.
consistent.
Mm-hmm.
I was never consistent just because I always had like a full time job, a full time life, and I was like, I don't want social media to rule me. So
Right.
I was very intentional about when and what I posted. But you know more than anyone, that's not the nature of the game. You all the time. You need to be posting consistently. And so when I got let go from Netflix in 2024, I had a lot of time to really think about what the next era of Adele was going to look like. And I had always loved seeing women talk about their love for wrestling because that wasn't a thing when I was little. Like maybe
Mm-hmm.
one or two other of my classmates who were girls liked wrestling, but you know, we would just talk about it, but we wouldn't necessarily say, oh, we're going to become like content creators because that wasn't even a thing back then. But now it's like there's so many incredible women who are just like flaunting their fandom. And I'm like, I want to be a part of the party too. So I was like, okay, 2025 is going to be the year that I actually sit down and start doing content. But it was very much like under like the terms and conditions where I was going to do this as a kind of an experiment.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to see what kind of content would show up, whether you know it was related to music. Like, could I find a music angle? Could I find a Filipino angle? Could I find a mental health angle? Like, it all had to be centered around my passions and what
Mm-hmm.
my values are, because I feel like that's the only way my content is going to be easily separated from, you know, the sea of other videos that are out there. And I had to feel good about it. I needed to make a video and make sure that I wanted to watch it 100 million times on my own before I could post it, because if I don't love my own content, no one else is going to love it.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
so I removed cringe from my vocabulary because I'm like, at this point, if I'm not cringe, then what's the point of this? You know? But yeah, I would just do like quick reaction videos. I would do videos sort of documenting my toy hunts. That was the beginning of it. I was trying to find, and I think you could see it here actually. I was trying to find the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle
Mm-hmm.
collaboration with WWE. Like I wanted everything. I love the turtles, so I was like, I need this, right? And I was going to every single Target and just like either striking big or like striking out. So hitting it big or striking out. And I was like, oh, okay, people are into this. Like I started to see people actually watch and engage with the content. And I was like, okay, I'm onto something here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also very sensitive about like making sure that everything that I'm doing is tied to people buying something. It's more so about a feeling. Like I want people to feel joyful when they watch my content and like, oh, I could hang with this girl and we can talk about wrestling and shoot. Like I think that's the biggest through line for me. So as I started to like develop my voice and like my content creation skills, I was like, oh, okay, people are actually checking what I'm doing. Like when I hit 1,000 followers last year, I was like, that was like the biggest the biggest thing for me because I was like, I'm not even really doing anything special. I'm just being me.
Mm-hmm.
And people are gravitating towards that. And I think just building that community online and then translating it into like these real life interactions, that's the most rewarding part for me. Like even being at wrestling events and like running into people that I admire, like a Chris Van Vliet, like it's amazing. Like when you decide to commit to your purpose, all of the opportunities that start to open up for you.
Do you feel like entering into the content creation field via TikTok was easier because of your career, or do you feel like you were more critical of yourself?
Well, that's a great question. I don't know if I was critical of myself in the sense that, again, it was very much experimental last year. I was like, whatever feels most natural to me, that's the way it's getting put out because I don't have time. So I have a whole job and a whole life. I'm just gonna do it to the best of my ability. But I'm also very much perfectionist, right? So like it needed to look the way that I envisioned it in my head, or it wasn't getting posted.
Yeah.
But I will say that I did have an advantage because I was doing content creation for some of the brands that I had worked for in the past. And so I was able to sort of apply all of the knowledge about like engagement and writing scripts and doing VOs from my previous jobs and apply it to what I was doing as a content creator. So I do think it gave me a little bit more of a competitive edge for sure.
Has there been any other opportunities in your career to intertwine your love of professional wrestling with your day-to-day jobs?
Oh, no. I would love that. Wouldn't you love that? I think we would all love that.
Yes,
I wish
we would.
I wish I could get paid talking about wrestling. Not to say that we can't, right? You know, that's why I think that we do this. But also it's because like we need more women talking about their love for wrestling.
Yeah.
So I have a dream to actually do something. And I think that by saying it on this podcast, I mean, I have to do it.
Okay, we're manifesting.
We are manifesting, I love to say. I would love to write a women's wrestling book. Like I've been kind of like, you know, reading all the things like Natty just dropped her book and, you know, a lot of women are doing memoirs, but I haven't seen sort of like a visual encyclopedia of all of the women who've ever wrestled. And I know that it would be a huge undertaking, but I don't really have a deadline for myself, but it would be something that I would love to really dive into this year and really make a reality just because like, I don't want all of these women wrestlers' works to go unseen or unrecognized. Right. Like it's about that time, you know. Can't fully say I'm going to quit my job tomorrow and do this. I would love to, but that is like one of my bigger dream life projects that I want to commit to. But for now, I think it's more so just like doing the content that I'm doing. I still need to put food on the table. I still need to provide for myself, fund my fun. And I think that the situation that I have right now works for me, but who knows? Maybe if we reconnect in a year, things will be different.
When you are at work, do you embrace that you're a wrestling fan, or are you like, do you embrace your like inner Hannah Montana
everybody
and
knows.
they don't know? Oh, okay.
Oh, everybody knows. I fully believe in bringing 100% of myself to work. I mean, I tone it down a little bit. I tone it down just a bit, but like I actually posted this on TikTok too. Like I'm an internal communications manager. So making decks is very much a part of my day to day. And we were celebrating. So I work for a sales team too. And so part of one of my assignments was to highlight the winners of like a sales incentive. And so I was like, okay, they love sports. They love us good sports analogies. So I'm just going to highlight different sports winners. And so I put like Michael Jordan, I put like Shohei Ohtani, I put so many different people. And then I'm like, I'm actually going to put in Seth Rollins and Stephanie McMahon. I'm like, nobody might know who this is, but I use wrestling gifs all the time. And people really rock with it too. Like they'll hit me up on the side, like, okay, I see that you love wrestling. And I'm like, yeah, this is what I nerd out about. Like I'm taking this PTO because I'm going to WrestleMania. See you when I see you. Okay. Respect the out of office. And it just makes for a more joyful environment. And again, it goes back to meaningful connections. I'm not just like this corporal robo that's like plugging in words into AI and then here you go. Here's my task for the day. I really believe that like people want to come to a work where like you contribute to a culture that's positive and everybody can really just be themselves. So I try to do that too.
I love that. What advice would you give to someone who is looking to make an impact in the journalism world?
Oh man, I might be the worst person to ask this because I feel like I've been so far removed from it. It's just so different from when I first got in. I felt like there were so many different lanes you could explore. Now it's like literally because of AI. So many of my friends, like my dear, dear friends have been losing their jobs left and right. And it's so heartbreaking, you know, like we're relying on technology for all of these innovations instead of human minds. And I think that's like the hardest thing to accept about the journalism landscape, because also to that effect, if I didn't have that journalism degree or that mass communications degree, would I have even needed it if I became an influencer? You know, like people now are just like sharing their opinions and they don't really have degrees. Not to say that they need it, not by any sense, because I feel like everybody's opinions are valid. But it was just a different time and a different generation where it was like, you need this degree in order to really, you know, solidify your value and your worth. And like, just to be like, I got this thing, this piece of paper, that means I am actually an authoritative voice on this, on this subject matter. Now it doesn't matter. Everybody's just going to talk into the phone and like post whatever. So, man, if you want to be a journalist in this day and age, just really, really find your voice. Use AI for admin. Like, help schedule your days, make sure that you're really hitting all of your different goals. But I do think that networking, just writing every single day, reading every single day, like really studying the landscape and just kind of picking and choosing some of the folks you would love to emulate, like career-wise.
Yeah.
I think that was huge for me, because if I can't see it, then I can't be it.
Right.
And you can freestyle as you go along. You can take little bits and pieces from like everybody's career and then just put your own spin on it and add your own flavor to it. But at this stage in the game, I feel like everybody's journey is different now. Like, you could literally make one video and your entire life changes, you know, like it's a different playing field now for sure.
Thank you, Adelle, so much for joining me here on Wrestling Winedown. Where can the people keep up with you on social media?
Thank you, Lo, for having me. Well, I just changed all of my things on TikTok and Instagram. I went from a delirium to a delusion. So you can find me on those handles, because we're committing to the Delulu in 2026.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Wrestling Winedown. You can find all of our other episodes available wherever you listen to your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, and iHeartRadio. We are on Twitter and Instagram at WWDCAST. We also have our official merch store, which you can find at shop.wrestlingwinedownlv.com. Let us know what you thought about this episode. What was your favorite part? Until next time, enjoy your wine and, of course, enjoy your wrestling. Cheers!